The poll results are in for the question that I asked on Twitter, and you'll hear it here first. Vote your preference. A. Would you like Professor X to be played by a black actor? Giancarlo Esposito, whoever you want it to be. And is the most featured character. Number one, when they're casting and the credits roll, the first name there, Charles Xavier, played by Giancarlo Esposito. Would you rather have that? And Storm is the fifth name on that casting, okay? So that's what you get. You get two black characters in the top five. One in the version of the swapping of the race for one movie, and then when things reboot, they return to being white again. You know how that works. So you can tell how I feel about that option. And then there's B, Storm. Second most prominent featured. The second place. And there's zero other black characters at all in the top 10. But Storm is second. And then there's C, which is the least voted. It says the 6th to the 10th most featured. So not the top 5, but from 6 to 10. Those 5 characters are black. That was the least voted on. What that shows me, well, people still voted for it, but the people who didn't vote for it, they said quantity is not enough. It's not enough to have 5 characters in your top 10 if those 5 characters are the least 5 of that. They know that the voters who didn't choose that know that there's more prominence and more power here. The effort for the characters up here, number 1 on that casting, and here number 2, and even number 3 and 4 and 5, there's a considerable drop-off of meaning for each time. So all of the followers of the Chillmonger YouTube, Twitter page know that. They've seen me talk about stuff like that, and maybe possibly I've influenced for that to be the least amounted voted number. But some people did, though. There are 19.5% out of 41 votes. Do the math. Does that mean that 9 people or 10 people voted for it? There's 10 human beings who wanted that. Not 10, it would be 9, wouldn't it? 10 guys wanted that. The second least winning was A. Do you want Professor X to be black, but he's number 1? And people did not vote for this. They did not choose that the new X-Men films are going to have a black lead protagonist running everything, getting the most lines, having the story be told in his perspective. They didn't want a lead character with a dark skin tone and why didn't they want that? And by the way, this isn't about how good the movie is. Just assume that the box office, just assume that the critical reception, the same quality of film, this is going to be just as good regardless of each 3 of these options. It's really just about representation and how you would like it for those interested in that kind of thing. For those interested, they said, no, we don't want a black Professor X. Majority of people didn't vote for that. A black Professor X. Instead, they wanted Storm. Not to be number 1. They said, we'll take Storm not being number 1, but Storm, an actual black character, being number 2 is way more valuable than that first option where Storm was the 5th best character, 5th most featured, and the Professor X was black. There's longevity, and there's a more to gain from an actual black character who's always going to be a black character. I don't see the day that Storm gets race swapped, unless it's some sort of like weird Elseworld thing. The X-Men are in another universe, and Storm actually is white, and her hair's black. Something like that. I don't see Storm ever in a film, in a cartoon, going, you know what, we're just underrepresenting those Caucasians. Flip Storm. That day's not coming. So this character forever after reboot will be looking the way that she looks, and there's a vast scarcity of meaningful characters with that skin complexion in Marvel, in media. It's in Hollywood, in the history, and this is a long-term problem. And the short-term solution would be, I'll make Professor X black this time, and then it'll go back to that Patrick Stewart looking at Professor X. We just had like 20 years of Patrick Stewart playing Professor X. You might get another 10 until the MCU is over. Who knows when the MCU dies? Maybe that's my next poll. Look out for that. When will the MCU actually be over? In 10 years? In 15 years? In 20 years? So we'll get like 10 to 15 or 20 years of Professor X being played by Giancarlo Esposito. Let's just say this is super successful. Then when things reboot, it goes back to a white actor being cast as Professor X. Why does Chillmonger say that? History. The Fantastic Four hired Jessica Alba, and she was the Invisible Woman for two movies. They rebooted. They had to hire her again, and they're like, well, we don't have to cast. We can cast white for Invisible Woman. It doesn't matter. Okay, well, let's just say that Sue's adopted to... Michael B. Jordan's going to play the Human Torch this time. Yeah, we'll do black again. These are not solutions. These are temporary representations. And that's not the solution. The solution is Storm. And if I can get... Once I can once I can devalue and depreciate Giancarlo Esposito playing Professor X and recognize that it doesn't do anything... It doesn't further anything long term, and it's like a placeholder that causes damage. Once I can devalue that, then it's useless. It's meaningless. The poll is really asking me: do I want Storm to be the 5th most important character or the 2nd highest featured important character? That's the real poll that Chillmonger sees, in my opinion. You guys can disagree with me in the comments, but race swapping is not it. If Giancarlo plays Professor X, what does that do? Long term, nothing. What does it do in the short term? Here's what happens. Very motivated YouTubers who swear they're not racist get to say, they're replacing us. You see that, guys? What's wrong with being white anymore? How could they do that? And they'll have ammunition. Fair criticism. Because why are the white characters being replaced? There's no comeback for that. Why is representation coming at the cost of other people? I understand that they're overrepresented, but this is still not the way to go about it. The way to go about it is to use the black characters you have. Not remove white people. That starts something. That's poking a bear. That attracts people to a cause. Don't make them right. Don't make them correct. The people who say that stuff should never be right. And they're completely correct when they do this. When they say that Professor X being stolen from us. Oh, we're losing. Don't incite that. Don't draw people to that cause who may otherwise not have been attracted to that. And then hearing some of their other unfriendly, unwelcoming opinions. That's how you radicalize people with decisions like that. So your movie can be black enough so at the photo that you guys take, oh, look, it's not so white anymore. It's not like the last time we did one. Remember that massive photo from the Avengers or the 10-year anniversary of Marvel? How everyone seemed to be white and they had all the directors and castmates. And every time you saw someone black, except for Chadwick Boseman, every time you saw someone black, you're like, supporting character, best friend, doesn't have anything titled after themselves. It was like a white fest. I'm sure in the new photo, because of the way you casted the Eternals, because of the way the quantity will be there. Okay, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more people in that photo, or the ratio will not be so Caucasian. That doesn't mean anything. You didn't forward anything. You do by propelling and elevating existing characters who have melanated skin tones and using them, normalizing their appearance, treating them like they are, treating them the same way you treated Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain America, Guardians, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, who else? Everyone who got a movie after themselves. And that goes for Shang-Chi, and that goes for all the other ethnicities as well. B, correct answer, 56%.